Today we'll study inflammation. As you know, inflammation is a local response in response to any injury causing agent like microorganism like bacteria or any toxin. So this local response is usually a protective response to protect our body from the injury causing agent. And there are basically four symptoms associated with inflammation: river, tumor, calor and dolor. River is redness, so there will be redness. Tumor, there will be swelling. Calor, it is associated with heat, and dolor is your pain. Okay, so when there is inflammation, there is swelling, heat produced, pain or algesia is there, heat, or there is hyperpyrexia. So pain, temperature, inflammation, all these three simultaneously occur. So any drug, when we target against the inflammation, it can target the pain, or it can also target the body temperature also. So inflammation is basically a protective response, and it can be of two types: acute and chronic. And what is the difference? Acute, if it is for a small duration, then we call it acute. And if it is for a longer duration, then we call it as chronic. And small duration means it may be for few minutes or few hours or even few days. But if it is for months and years, then we call it chronic. Okay? And acute, another major difference between them is acute is always associated with repair. So inflammation and repair occur simultaneously when there is acute inflammation. So repair means there will be recovery of the parenchymatous tissue, or there will be necrosis and there will be scare formation, or there can be both. But this is lacking in case of chronic. And why this chronic occurs? Because there is persistent infection. Persistent infection there can be, or there can be prolonged exposure, okay, or there can be autoimmunity. There can be autoimmunity. So persistent infection, the infection occurs for a longer period, and example like tuberculosis, syphilis. And when there is prolonged exposure, for example, there is prolonged cholesterol in a person, so that leads to atherosclerosis, deposition of cholesterol and the blood vessels, atherosclerosis. And there may be autoimmunity, the immune system is developed against the patient's own body parts, and the diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, so acute inflammation is always associated with repair, and we can clear it by using anti-inflammatory drugs. And chronic inflammation is not usually associated with repair, and we can only suppress by using anti-inflammatory drugs. Okay. Then if we go in detail about the acute inflammation, this acute inflammation has two types of events: vascular events and cellular events. So vascular events, the events which occur in the blood vessels, and the events which occur due to the cells. Okay. And the vascular events, mainly there is increased vascular permeability, and there is vasodilatation. So there is release of exudate into the extravascular tissue, and this results in edema. Okay, and this exudate contains four systems of mediators, inflammatory mediators, so you can call them as blood derived mediators, like the complement system, then coagulation system, then fibrinolytic system, and kinin system. Okay, and this is nothing but the blood coagulation, where the product is thrombin. Here there is production of fibrin, and here there is production of kinins like bradykinin. Okay. And all these three can activate the complement system. And complement system, it is called complement because it complements or enhances the inflammation process. And it is there are almost 20 group of proteins. We can call them C1 to C20, and the important one among them is C3. And this C3, how it is related. So C3 is converted to C3A and C3B by two pathways: classical pathway and alternate pathway. So alternate pathway, classical pathway is activated by C1, C2 and C4, and all these thrombin, fibrin and bradykinin all them activates this one. And alternate pathway, the microbial products and microbial endotoxins. Okay, this activates the alternate pathway. So the C3 is converted to C3A and C3B, and this C3A acts as anaphylatoxin. So it produces anaphylactic reactions. Okay, and the C3B acts as opsonin because it binds to the monocytes and it binds to the microorganisms and cause their phagocytosis. The C3B also converts C5 to C5A. Okay, and the C5A acts as chemotaxin. Chemotaxin because it causes a chemotactic reaction. That means it attracts chemotaxin. It attracts the neutrophils towards the site of injury so that the neutrophils will phagocytose the microorganism. Okay. This causes anaphylactic reactions through release of histamine, etc. And this acts as opsonin because it binds to the microorganisms and help facilitate their phagocytosis, binds to the microorganisms and facilitate their phagocytosis. And C5A acts as chemotaxin. It attracts the neutrophils towards the site of injury and causes the phagocytosis of the microorganism. And this C3B also activates C5 to C9, C5, 6, 7, 8, C9, which ultimately causes the lysis of bacteria. So in this way, the vascular events or the blood-derived mediators act, and these are all blood-derived mediators, we can say. And then we will discuss the cellular events. Derived mediators means the mediators, the inflammatory mediators derived from the cell, and the cells can be the blood cells, the cells can be the blood cells and other cells, or we can say the tissues, okay, from the tissues. So the blood cells, as we know, like neutrophil. So already we discussed this neutrophil causes the phagocytosis. Then we have eosinophils. So neutrophil, eosinophil and basophil are called as the granulocytes. So they have the granules. Eosinophils have the toxic granules called eosinophil, which contain eosinophil major basic protein, eosinophil cationic protein, all these. So eosinophils are the granulocytes because they contain the toxic granules which contains these proteins and which kills the microbes. Then we have basophils. So basophils are the blood cells, and the specialized basophils, so basophils can be converted to mast cells. So mast cells are nothing but the specialized basophils which release histamine, 5-HT, etc. And histamine causes the anaphylactic reactions. Okay. Then we have the monocytes, which are also called as macrophages. Okay. And again, they can cause also phagocytosis, and they can also release cytokines and chemokines. Okay. So they release the cytokines and chemokines. So those released from monocytes are called as monokines, and so cytokines can be monokines and lymphokines. So those released from the lymphocytes are called as lymphokines, and some of the lymphocytes can be converted to natural killer cells. So these they kill the infected cells or the cancer cells. They are killed by these lymphocytes, the natural killer cells. And others like the endothelial cells, which release endothelial derived relaxing factor, or also known as nitric oxide, endothelium derived relaxing factor. So during inflammation there is stimulation of INOS, inducible nitric oxide synthase, which synthesizes nitric oxide, so there will be increased production of nitric oxide, and which is a vasodilator. Then we have the neurons, and neurons release the neuropeptides like substance P, neurokinin, calcitonin gene related peptide, and 5-HT they are released. Then we have the dendritic cells. Because these cells look like dendrites of the neuron. That means like this. Dendritic cells are present at the locations which lie between the external and internal environment, mainly our skin, lungs, the lining of GIT, they are located there. And during inflammation, they are present in the non-lymphoid tissue, and from the non-lymphoid tissue, they migrate to the lymphoid tissue. And these dendritic cells act as antigen presenting cells and present the antigen so that the T lymphocytes bind them and can eliminate the antigen or microorganism or injury causing. The cell derived mediators, then we can classify them as amines, vasoactive amines like histamine 5-HT, and again arachidonic acid metabolites. This arachidonic acid is released from PIP2, phosphatidyl inositol diphosphate, by the action of phospholipase A2 is converted to arachidonic acid, and this arachidonic acid can follow the cyclooxygenase pathway. Cyclooxygenase, also called COX, or lipoxygenase called as LOX. So COX pathway or LOX pathway. And in the COX pathway, again there can be two different types. One is prostaglandin synthase, which produces prostaglandin D2, E2, I2, F2 alpha like them, and there can be thromboxane synthase. So they can produce thromboxane A2. And the lipoxygenase pathway produces the leukotrienes, leukotriene A, B, C, D, E. So A for B for C for D for E for. Okay. And there can be platelet activating factor released from the platelets. Okay. So the platelets can release platelet activating factor. Cytokines, chemokines, nitric oxide, neuropeptides. Also the free radicals can be called as the cell derived mediators. So this is all about inflammation.